I'm Randall Yearout. I'm a candidate for the U.S. House in the 5th District of Washington State. I'm bringing today, I'm not sure exactly what to call this, but I'll explain that up until about 1954, the churches in America would have their clergy deliver what were called election sermons. This is in part an election sermon and a voter registration drive, a get out the vote, so to speak. And it's a sort of a plea to Christian America to wake up, to stand up, to be counted while you still can. I want to begin by reading you something from a man that many of you may very well be familiar with. The man's name was Charles D. Finney. In the 1850s and up until about the time of the Civil War, he was a clergyman. He was responsible for a great number of ministries across America, including the Salvation Army, the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA, the American Bible Society, American Dragon, all kinds of stuff. The combined budgets of these organizations that Finney was responsible for rivaled that of the United States government at that time. This was somebody who was well known. This is what he wrote in his memoirs. Listen to this. The church must take right ground in regards to politics. The time has come for Christians to vote for honest men and take consistent ground in politics, or the Lord will curse them. God cannot sustain this free and blessed country, which we love and pray for, unless the church will take right ground. Politics are a part of a religion in a country such as this, and Christians must do their duty to their country as part of their duty to God. God will bless or curse this nation according to the course Christians take in politics. Does that sound anything like what you have heard from your clergymen over the last 50 or 60 years? I'll answer it for you. No. That is not what we've heard. As a matter of fact, what we have heard is you can't mix religion and politics. That isn't what Charles Finney just told us. That isn't what the Scriptures tell us. And this is why. This is why that's false. You cannot pass legislation without introducing into the equation somebody's religiously held beliefs, which boils down to their morality, which informs legislation. All legislation is based on somebody's morality, which flows from their religiously held beliefs. So, given that, wouldn't it seem reasonable to anyone that the segment of American society who holds the greatest potential to influence legislation, policy, and culture should have a voice in America? We should have a voice. The Christian community represents, I would say conservatively, over 100 million people that are voting age. That's the largest voting bloc in America. It is the largest voting bloc that doesn't register to vote and doesn't vote. The church, in the form of individual Christians, could change virtually the society in America in one election cycle. You've heard the expression that the wheels of government turn slowly, but they grind away powerfully. This, you can apply that same kind of thinking to elections, but it moves a lot quicker. Maybe the wheels of government turn slowly, But the wheels of election turn overnight. Things can be done in the term of one election. I've spent the last 6 or 7 years reading in a book that was written by a king to his son and his children. The purpose of the book was to teach how to rule a kingdom and how to govern one's own personal affairs and behavior. It's called the Book of Proverbs, and I'd like to share with you some of the wisdom from King Solomon, who was reputed to be probably the wisest man on the planet in his day. Let me read from you from the book of Proverbs, chapter 28 and verse 4. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. Now that tells us something right there, that silence equals approval. The Christian community has sat down and shut up for decades now. They're not contending in the sphere of influence that they have a right to be involved in. There are 3 ordained spheres of ministry that God has decreed in the Scriptures. Number 1 is the family, which is the ministry of education. Number 2 is the church, which is the ministry of grace. Number 3 is the government, the civil government, which is the ministry of justice. And if you look in the book of Romans, you'll find that the king, the ministry of justice, the government, doesn't hold the sword in vain. He has been given the authority by God to use it. For what purposes does the Scripture say? He's to be the minister of good to those who are good, and he's to execute wrath on those who work evil. Now there's an important thing to remember here. This is a ministry that's been ordained by God, and he gets to choose what is good and what is evil. I want to point to another proverb. It's the same chapter, another verse, verse 4, 28 verse 4, or verse 9. He that turns away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. I know for certain and for sure that in America today, Christians are praying to God for help to turn their country around, to bring the country back to a place where it looks like justice prevails. And they're being frustrated. This is because we are not contending for the truth and for the law. We're not contending with the evil and the wicked. We've been told that you can't mix religion and politics. And actually, that's a pretty easy pill to swallow because it relieves you of a lot of responsibility. Our founders told us that there's an animating contest for liberty and freedom. It's a lot of work. And if we're willing to give up our liberties for a little bit of temporary peace and security, we don't deserve either peace or security. And we're heading in a direction that tells us we can see just from observing the facts that are the circumstances around us today that that's what's happening. Our founders understood this duty. And they declared to the political world, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, the causes which drove this nation to the station which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. That's the standard that they used. And for generations, the watchmen on the walls of American sovereignty and freedom, this beacon to the rest of the world concerning liberty, these guys stayed on the wall. They contended for the truth and for the law against those wicked and evil who have always, even in the colonial time, there were those who tried to diminish and ridicule and belittle the laws of nature and nature's God. That mindset has taken center stage today, inhabited the centers of power, and now we're in the position we're in. And there are pictures in the Proverbs as well concerning that very thing. I'll read to you from Proverbs 24, verse 30, and to the end. So I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw, considered well, I looked upon it, and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as a prowler, and thy want as an armed man. This is a picture of the church in America today. Quite literally, a sleeping giant with immense divine power which cannot come to bear without the willingness of each of us to wake up, to get up, and begin contending for law and truth. Instead, what we have is a minority of squeaky wheels who have no use for the laws of nature and nature's God, apparently, and they have made it their business to fill the political and social vacuum that Christian America has left them. They're filling it with legislation and policies which hold our traditional common law values in contempt. And this is warned of as well, again in the same book of Proverbs. I'll read it here. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 3. When the wicked comes, then comes also contempt, and with dishonor, reproach. Now what that is telling us, when the wicked rise in power, they hold the laws of nature and nature's God in contempt. And if the called, the chosen, the Christian community will dishonor God by not contending for His truth and His standards, they will be held by those wicked people in contempt, as a reproach, worthless. And Jesus Christ Himself went even a little bit further with that analogy and declared that those people would no longer be good for anything, to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. They've lost their saltiness. They're worthless. I know that this sounds probably a little harsh, but this is the church in America today. Pretty much worthless in the social arena of public affairs. Afraid to say anything. Afraid to do anything. I can tell you, folks, if we do nothing, we will come to nothing, and worse. the largest voting bloc in the country, the one who holds the keys to the seedbed of virtue and good in America, have got to wake up. They've got to become engaged and involved and take our arena of public affairs back to contend for good and right, and again return the ministry of justice, our government, into the rewarder of good and the punisher of evil. We have to return to the laws of nature and nature's God to inform our public councils, our public policies, our legislation, our common law, traditional common law. This is the way back for us. We simply must regain the power that has been given us, and then by that begin to exercise in the public arena. Thank you.